Since all the previous stories from this book revolved around animals, we're covering, one revolving around humans. And the final one we'll read from this book is one that, well, based around a property that I hadn't covered since before I even had 100 episodes of this series. This is The Sword in the Stone, the Pajama Party. Warts couldn't sleep. Ever since Merlin the Wizard had arrived, Wart's life had been upside down. Merlin insisted on turning Warts into different animals to enhance Wart's educational experiences. And that was on top of all his normal chores. It was a lot to handle. That night the boy looked out his window and saw that the light in Merlin's rickety tower was still on. Warts paid Merlin a visit. When he arrived, he found that Merlin's owl, Archimedes, was even grumpier than normal. He couldn't sleep. "It's too draughty," Archimedes said. "It's leaky. It smells weird." "Go to sleep, you wretched creature," Merlin shouted. "Sleep in this unsuitable environment?" Archimedes huffed. "You can't sleep either?" Warts asked. "I should say not," Archimedes hooted. Merlin collapsed into his armchair. "Blasted bird refuses to cooperate," he complained. "Here," Merlin said, waving his wand. A gigantic book wafted toward Warts. "This one is very boring. Give it a read. It can be part of your bedtime routine." "What's a bedtime routine?" Warts asked. Realizing Warts had another important lesson to learn, Merlin jumped up. "Since nobody is getting any sleep, we might as well have a party." Archimedes eyed the wizard suspiciously. Merlin waved his hand again, and presto changeo, Warts was wearing pajamas. Having never had real pajamas before, he was delighted. "What is the meaning of this?" Archimedes demanded. "Just because I'm wearing a hat with a tassel does not mean I'm going to bed." "No, of course not," Merlin scoffed. "We're just having a party. A pajama party." "What do we do at a pajama party?" Wart asked. "Usually there's a story," Merlin said, raising his wand again. "Ribbitus rabbitus," he shouted. Poof! Warts could tell something was different. He shook his head and felt a bit confused. His long ears flopped. "Wait, long ears?" "We're rabbits!" Warts exclaimed. "The best storyteller around is Mama Rabbit," Merlin explained. "Come on, we'll be late." Warts hopped after the wizard, and Archimedes kept pace above as they made their way into the woods. Soon Merlin skidded to a stop. "We're here," he said, pointing to the entrance of a burrow. "Archimedes, I'm afraid you'll need to listen from a distance." "Why?" Warts asked him. "It's part of the tension between predators and prey, my boy. You see, some owls eat rabbits. Of course, Archimedes here wouldn't, but it's safer for everyone if Archimedes stays away." Archimedes rolled his eyes. Merlin and Warts squeezed themselves through a tunnel and eventually settled near the back of the burrow. The home was filled with young bunnies, all listening intently to Miss Rabbit. Merlin muttered a spell so that he and Warts could understand what she was saying. Mama Rabbit's voice was gentle, and she spoke. Warts could see the story unfolding. "Those little bunnies found their way home," Mama Rabbit said, and soon after they fell fast asleep. Warts yawned. Merlin was already snoring softly next to him. "Ever since that day," Mama Rabbit said, her voice barely a whisper, "we bunnies has told the story of the—" "Ow!" a bunny screamed. Suddenly everyone in the burrow was very awake. There, peeking out from behind his rabbit friends, was Archimedes. "You didn't really expect me to wait outside, did you? I could barely hear the story," the owl confessed. "Get out!" Mama Rabbit shrieked at the uninvited guests. Her bunnies quickly joined in. "Merlin, do something!" Warts cried. Phoom! As the smoke cleared, Warts realized he was back in Merlin's tower. He touched his head. The long ears were gone. "I'm a boy again," Warts said. "And we're back home," Archimedes added. "Not a moment too soon." Merlin prepared a tray with a pitcher and 3 cups. "Here we go," he said, spinning around triumphantly. "Warm milk." As the trio moved to the table, Warts found himself thinking about Mama Rabbit's story. He noticed how soft his new pajamas were, and he felt very dozy. You know, Warts began. Shh, Merlin replied. He pointed at Archimedes, who had fallen asleep. Warts stifled a giggle. Merlin settled Archimedes in his birdhouse and drew a blanket over his shoulders. Warts stretched and yawned. He was ready for bed, too. With a final wave of his hand, Merlin whisked them back to Wart's room. The boy climbed into his bed, which had never felt softer in his whole life. It's funny, Wart said. Before this party, I wasn't sleepy at all. Merlin smiled knowingly. Comfy pajamas, a bedtime story, and a cup of warm milk, he said. This, my boy, is a bedtime routine. Merlin asked, do you think you might try it on your own tomorrow night? But he got no answer. Wart was fast asleep. The end.